Okay. We have a motion from Mr. Good. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Mr. Good, second by Mr. Crittenden. Any further discussion on the motion? Not, well, Mr. Good.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, we are to item number 3, discussion consideration on a request from Paul Morris on behalf of MIDA regarding Resolution 1807. This is the first amendment to the interlocal agreement.
Mr. Chairman, could we, there's one element that might be important to this that I think we need to cover in closed session for legal. Could we move this item to later in the meeting? So perhaps if we finished item 4 and 5, we could do closed session and maybe come out of that before 6 o'clock.
Anybody have any objection to that? Or any additional comment? If not, we'll move this item. Okay. Item number 4, Jack Johnson Consulting, representative for Mayflower Mountain Ponds and Stichting Mayflower Recreational Ponds, is requesting discussion, possible motions regarding changes to the master plan for East Marina.
Okay, this item, if you recall, received master plan approval back in, I think the marina received it December of 2017, if I remember right. They want to come back in and change a few things. So this is the approved master plan. We're only dealing with what we're referring to as the east side. And just so everybody understands, there's Highway 40. State Park is down here. This is State Route 319 that goes into the Jordanelle State Park here. So we're not discussing this west side of the marine development. We're just discussing this east side of the marine development. And when it was approved, there was 345 ERUs on that east side. And the proposal would be to, I've got a slide that shows a side-by-side comparison, but the proposal is to change the single-family lots to townhouse lots. Each townhouse is considered, each side of the townhouse is considered 1 ERU. So the ERUs remain the same. 10 of those ERUs are actually going over to this side. So here's a side-by-side comparison. Proposed plan, approved plan. Again, single-family lots here. Road layouts remain the same. As you can see in this area right here, the density has gone down. And as I said, 10 of those ERUs get transferred over to this west side. Now the west side will have to come in and go through their own amendment process. But for this east side, I felt like the change in list wasn't significant enough to go through a whole process. But just to go through and reiterate, what they're changing is the single-family lots changed to townhouse. 10 ERUs are proposed to be moved to the west side. Amendments to the west side master plan must be done at a future date. The proposal complies with the JSPA code. In the designation for this area, it allows attached and detached housing. The clubhouse does get moved from, let's see, this location right here to this location right here. No other changes are being made. The trails remain the same. The roads remain the same. And it's 335 ERUs on the 93 acres.
So by moving those 10, the 335 is on both the east and the west, or just this west piece we're looking at?
It's just the west piece, or the east piece that we're looking at.
So it remains the same 335 even with moving the 10?
It was 345 before, it's 335 with this proposal.
And then the 10 go over there.
The 10 go over there, but that'll have to go through a different process.
So what happens if we were to approve this and then didn't approve the 10 on the other side?
I guess they
Oh, they
get the
take
10
that
ERUs.
risk?
Yeah.
On the other side, what's the density on the other side?
Well, they've got their commercial here, and as you can see, between this proposal and this proposal, it goes to more single-family lots. So So we're proposing single-family lots. You've got, off the screen, you've got the school site here. The commercial square footage goes up. And if you remember, back when this was applied for, the commercial ERUs didn't count. Also on this piece is the affordable housing right in this area here.
Okay. Looks like a good adjustment, a good change.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Any further questions or discussions for Doug? Anything from the council?
I have a question.
Please state your name.
Oh, Trudy Simmons.
Trudy Simmons.
Trudy Simmons. So essentially what's happening is they're doubling the density.
No.
No.
All right, so how does it go from 335 if they're going to be doubled and now it's 660?
Well, no, that's a misprint. That's not correct.
Oh, all right, so explain it, please.
So each one of these townhouse units is 2 ERUs,
And an ERU means,
equivalent residential units. So anything 1,500 square feet and over is 1 ERU. So we're not saying that these combine and it becomes 1 ERU for every 2 townhouses. It's 1 ERU for every single townhouse.
The density actually decreases by 10 on this specific one, and then they have to get approval for those 10 otherwise on a different form.
They got a master plan for the full thing.
For the full thing. It's already, the density's already approved.
all right, yeah, so it just gives the impression here that it's doubling. So,
Thank you.
but just to could that be clarified somewhere? That there was an error in this agenda or?
Yeah, when we make the motion, if we approve it, we can state how many ERUs that are on there, so we're corrected.
Yeah, so someone in the future can't come back and say, oh, they said there could be 660, you know, just so that it's clear.
Good point. And originally didn't have a lot more than 335 or 345 ERUs approved.
No, the whole thing was 353.
392.
392.
You might be
392 on the whole thing.
Okay, very good.
All right, Mr. Koskowski.
Yes, when is it appropriate to discuss the nature of the east outbound, or the east road that goes to Old Keatley Road? Is that under consideration today, or is that for a future date?
So what Mr. Kozakowski's talking about is this road that goes along the rail alignment out to Old Keatley here as a second access requirement for the master plan. The applicant's been working on that and purchasing right-of-way for the road to go out to Old Keatley. Our discussion has been that there's got to be a second access. So the approval of the master plan is contingent on us issuing building permits and that road having to be in.
But when will we have a public comment period on that road?
It's up to the council.
At a future date? So it isn't passed, it's at a future date?
This is master plan approved.
Well, well, I've been at the public hearing, there is an aspect that does cross a wetland, and so we'd like to know the nature of that road as it crosses that wetland. Personally, I don't have an objection to that path, but any further intrusion upon the wetland is in violation of previous agreements this county has made, particularly on the discussion of where the location of 248 was going to be. There's a whole discussion of that in that. So I would just like to know when that will be debated.
Well, with master plan, we're looking at, a 30,000-foot level view of this. As they come in for preliminary, we'll start looking at geotechnical issues, traffic,
Okay.
wetland issues, all those constraint issues as
Okay, well, thank you. I just want to put that issue on the table now to warn you that that could be an issue.
Thank you.
Yes. thank you.
Okay, anything else for Doug? Have anything, does the applicant have anything to add to the presentation?
That's for now right now.
All right, now we'll come back to the council for possible consideration.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion on this to approve the request of the new proposed plan of the master plan, and have it state that it's a total of 335 ERUs on this side of the development. Also make note that 10 ERUs would be transferred over to the other side. So when that comes here for consideration, that we remember that they gave up 10. This is the Stichting Mayflower Mountain Ponds and Stichting Mayflower Recreational Ponds. So our motion is to approve it as presented.
I'm concerned that that motion could imply that the transfer of the 10 ERUs is approved now. And I think that would need to be done when we handle the west side.
That's why I raised that question.
So we can restate that it's 335 ERUs, but maybe just make a note that they've given up 10 that we can take into consideration when they bring the other side back for consideration. So we're
Perfect.
Do you want to address the agenda, how the agenda was printed with 660?
Oh, yeah. And to correct the agenda, it states 660, and correct that to the 345. We're approving 335.
Just as a point of clarification, Stephen Bergman on behalf of Mayflower. When the master plan was approved, it was both for the east and west as one unit, and it was 392 ERUs. And I just want to make sure that in correcting how the agenda reads, what will be the remaining 57 ERUs that will be on the west side are not somehow being lost in that correction.
Maybe just say that the 660 is a misprint. That's just my...
Anything else we need to do there, Doug, to make sure that they've got their ERU intact? We're fine, guys.
Now that 57,
Yeah,
does that include the potential 10?
That would be with the 10 coming from the east side.
If we approve that?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Peterson and a second by Mr. Farrell. Any further discussion? Mr. Good?
Yes.
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 Motion carries. Okay, we're down to item number 5, council board reports. Mr. Peterson, do you have anything on board reports?
So we had a good meeting last night with Heber City and had representatives from Mayflower as well, or Midway. Those interlocal meetings are very good, and we enjoy the discussions that we have with the cities. That one, it's good to have the public that comes as well, so we'll on that as well.
Yes, Timberlake's about 8 years ago went out and when we put the water system in, we had the bond and we got stuck caught in this high interest on it. Zions Bank has been working with us and we came to a way that we can refinance that loan. And where we're administrative control board in Timberlake, we need approval from the county to go ahead and re-amortize that loan or that bond. And
Do we
so
do that by resolution?
we do that. I don't know, Randy Dorsey is going to work on it, but I'd like to put this on the agenda for the 29th meeting
That's the other item.
so that we can get some movies on it.
Second item.
Okay. Anybody have an issue with putting this on as item number 3 after the other 2 items we're going to address on the 29th meeting? Okay. On that special meeting, and it won't start until 6 o'clock because it's a public hearing. Let's get some bond. Will you get the language for the agenda? Make sure we get an agenda from Mr. Larson.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Mr. Triplett.
We held the State Road 248 meeting on Monday. I was unable to attend because I was in Logan. So we were like power meeting. They keep scheduling stuff on top of Doug. Austin Corey went in behalf of the planning department. Did he report anything?
He said he went, and there was discussion on the temporary access that goes into the Iroquois project, and they wanted him to provide some information on that, but other than that, that's...
I know I spoke to Bob Allen, the MAG representative that kind of is chairing or whatever, coordinating that meeting, and he indicated we have the original agreement on 248, which has different language. The UDOT designated the access points a lot different back then, and they've gone back through and identified, okay, where is this access point? And they matched those up to mile markers so we know exactly where they are. some of those were given access, that they're verifying in the original agreement what kind of access they were given, so that we make sure we don't make this new agreement that steps on top of an access that's been granted in the past. So that's basically what they were going to talk about. And the next meeting schedule on that, I think we're about ready to wrap it up. The next meeting scheduled for September 10th. So that's moving forward. I think looking pretty good. And then just remind you all, you've got should have got an email today from Ashley if you're intending on attending the senior citizen picnic tomorrow afternoon. You need to RSVP to them so they know how many hamburgers to have for you. That's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Good.
And I just reported on my meetings, I do have a request that we have the sewer district come and give us a report. That's something we said earlier in the year. They come about quarterly or so.
We've got a meeting next Tuesday night. What would you like to know?
Well, one of the things I'd like to know is what we can do to accommodate the sewer district for the bypass. That seems to be something that we need to kind of talk about. I'd like to hear from the sewer board what their concerns are there.
It would help if we had some idea of what question, I mean, where the bypass is going to go and how it's going to affect the sewer. Is that known yet?
I don't think they can answer to their concerns till we have more definitive where we know. I've spoken to him, and we know that it's going to encroach, and we'll probably have to mitigate some areas, but we don't know where those are yet.
Does Dennis do a manager's report at the sewer board meeting? Does Dennis do like a manager's report? Maybe even that, just to come give us an update on what's going on, or any issues that are happening, in case we get questions, we can help.
I think that is great. I think Dennis enjoys that, and to go along with Councilman Good, I think that would be a bad idea to have a discussion, especially not knowing where the bypass would be. It might be good to find out what the constraints would be on the sewer district before the bypass is even decided on the location. So
Know what things we have to look at.
Yeah. Okay.
But just, maybe just give Dennis, see what day work, which meeting works good for, leaving the work meeting, maybe, he can just come and visit what we can test. If it works for him, we can check with him, and then we'll get Michelle to put it on as soon as we get a clear date. Okay, anything else under council board report? Okay, manager's report.
I've just got a couple issues or items. One, Dawn, I met with Dawn today. We have several outstanding things that he's working on for the council, including redoing all of our electronics in his room, the broadcast for the districts and so forth. I've asked him to have a standing time on our work meetings that I'll expect him to come every work meeting to just give us updates, lots of the on-base workflow issues that he's working on, all those things. A lot of questions pop up here and there. And so I think he got some stuff back from the attorney's office on the special districts MOU thing, and so he's ready to go to start that. He wants to start with one of them, and he can report on that.
So should we put him on the work meeting in September?
Yeah, and it could be under manager's report, that's fine. He's just reporting on what he's doing. There won't be any decisions on that. But we did get the consultant has information back on our electronics update. And so he met with me today on that. He's doing a follow-up and have that. The other item we were just talking about that just came up was 248. We've received a lot of phone calls and concern the cars being parked on that temporary connection from Iroquois out to 248. Does everybody know what I'm talking?
We talked about that, was it 2 meetings ago, and who was going to follow up?
I'm wrong board here. I've done, well,
That was a different,
I know we did mention that, though, we got emails on it.
okay, 248. So I contacted UDOT, worked with Jim Kaiserman, worked with our recorder's office, and I finally have a pretty clear picture of where everything is. Okay, here's the Jordanelle Parkway. And this is where the trail easement. And it's the old Union Pacific Railroad.
Where's Stock? How far around the corner is that from Stock?
Stock's up there. Browns Canyon is here.
Okay.
What we know now is that the UDOT right-of-way is approximately 150 feet from the center line out. Then there's the trail easement. The trail easement's 100 feet. And then there's the Jordanelle Parkway. Pardon me?
Who does the trail easement belong to?
That's the part I'm getting to.
No.
So railroad easements, back in the day, as railroad easements started to be abandoned, the federal government required that you couldn't really get rid of railroad easements. You could pull tracks up, but they had to be preserved for any future potential transportation use or something to that effect. So the rail trail that goes from Park City to Colville, which this is a spur of, is part of that. So there's a trail on that, but the rail grade is preserved underneath that, paper-wise, that it someday it could be used. So the question was, who owns the easement? The way the federal government did it, they gave that right to State Park, Utah State Parks. So they
Statewide or just in this?
Statewide. I think so.
Yeah. So State Park.
For abandoned ones. But I don't know that for sure.
I thought it was just for this section.
Was it just this section? Maybe it's just this section.
So state parks.
Well, but we did locate it, and I assumed because of that, the state owned it. As we worked on it with Jim Kaiserman and with taking the assessor's office, we did find a couple of deeds. That this section where that road, that temporary road cuts through, where the people are parking, was deeded to Wasatch County. So between the parkway and the state highway 248, 100 feet, we own it.
Where does the old road cut down through the bottom of the lake? It's a little bit to the south of this, right?
Yeah.
The road that went down through
Boston Hill Road.
Boston Hill.
Yeah, you drop off.
I mean, this is about right on Boston Hill right there.
Yeah.
So currently we have ownership and we don't have any, no parking or otherwise.
We don't. Our ordinance, unless we specifically designate areas, no parking, we don't have a general no parking ordinance for the county. We have taken specific areas and said no parking, and then we identify them by ordinance, but we haven't done that here. This is a temporary road. The anticipation is when the Jordanelle Parkway is completed to the south, which is happening right now, the approvals, and the money, and the construction, and everything is going to be starting here quickly. The need for that, excuse me, the need for that temporary goes away, and that road would be taken out. And that goes back to the access issue on the 248. If that was a temporary access, because we don't have the secondary access through the parkway yet, but we will. So
they're parking there and going where? Down to the lake?
no, it appears it appears that most of these are overflow parking from the apartments.
Hollow.
Todd Hollow.
I know one of the emails expressed a concern people running across the road.
And so they have a limit on Todd Hollow of parking. People have parked here. I don't know if it's used as a park and ride as well. It may be used as a park and ride as well, that somebody that lives somewhere else is parking here and then catching a ride with somebody else. That information I don't know for sure. But right now, there are people parking there. The residents of the adjacent development are concerned. And so I'm looking for a little guidance. What do you want me to do? Do you want us to do an ordinance to prohibit parking? Do we care if they park there? Do we?
In the past, haven't we tried to limit that to areas where there's either access for emergency vehicle issue or a public safety? Obviously, if there's a public safety issue, then we need to look at it.
I'm not aware that it's been a public safety issue. The road area stays open. They just park on the sides.
Otherwise, we've been real careful to not, if it's county, we allow parking unless it's a.
And if they're parking and running across 248 at Todd Hollow, it's a public safety issue.
Yeah.
I know that was expressed in the email we got, was how many of them.
So up until just a couple of days ago,
I don't recall that.
I did not think we owned this property. And I had told some people that I didn't think we owned this property.
But we do.
But we do. I was correct. So I'm just looking for a little guidance.
You don't have a recommendation, you're kind of looking at.
I don't.
I'd like to go look at it personally before I
So
say.
who's complaining about the parking?
We're getting the residents from Park's Edge and
All of that there.
It's pretty packed with cars.
there's, I think the number I've heard is in the 15 to 20 something cars.
See, I'm not putting it, I'm not getting it. I'm familiar with the area, but I want to go look at it.
Yeah.
And see.
And we could go get some pictures and try and get a little more information for you.
There you go, Salt Lake, I'll swing up through.
Yeah, just stop by and take a look at it.
Anybody got any?
Off of 48 access, I mean, right away, is it right adjacent to the right away?
Right, Jason, yeah.
In parallel.
Yeah.
And parallel with the future
And I don't know if they're parking on some of the state right of way as well. I mean, they may be carrying, 150 feet off the center, it's 300-foot right of way. It's a big right of way for
Did
them.
you say Jim had been out there?
He hasn't been out there. He's been pulling drawings and things. So, did he go out there? Okay.
I might ask him, I might go visit with him and have him show me too on an area so I know exactly what it is. Because he got a drawing.
Yeah, and you can see the road. I mean, when you come up that road, you know, where you turn off the Browns Canyon intersections, go up, and it's just right at the end there before it goes to dirt on the parkway.
We want to get back, we'll put that on our work meeting and have some more input on our next work meeting.
So I should probably get more information.
Yeah, let's get some more info, see.
Okay. Will do. Thank you.
Okay, we can put that on Michelle for the second work. Is that all, Mr. Davis?
That's it.
Okay, that's the end of our agenda with the exception of item number 3. And I think Mr. Good requested a closed session due to legal potential litigation, that we need to go into closed session. We will be coming out of closed session and looking at this and having a discussion. I don't know how long we'll be. So bear with us while we discuss this, if you would please. And we'll be coming back out into regular session shortly. Do we have a motion to go into closed session? Motion by Mr. Good, second by Mr. Peterson. Any discussion? Mr. Good? Yes. Yes. Okay, we're now in closed.